3 years ago, I had a dream. Steve Watts passed away, and I really wanted to meet Steve Watts again. And I went, how many more of us, of these legends, are going to pass away before I can meet them again? Had a look at the 1995 International Survivors Symposium that our friend Lawrence Ball put on, and went, let's try this, guys. So I put an email out to Dave Delafield, Chris Novo, Kelly, Carlton, back there, Dave Holder was, I forget exactly who else was all on it, but those three were for sure.
David Westcott.
David Westcott was on it. Dave Westcott. Over there. And said, I got this crazy idea. Don't know if it's going to fly or not. But let's have a get-together of some of the big survival instructors from around the world. And so we got together at this little gathering that I had called the Rat Root Rendezvous that we've been having for 18 years. And it was hatched that August. 3 years ago, just about now. And we carried on meeting after meeting after meeting.
After meeting.
And then guys like Dave Delafield here turned around and said, you know, it'd be really cool, awesome if we had a convention style. I go, oh. Chris Novo goes, our theme will be skills in content.
Channeling Steve Watts.
Because without content, you're just playing in a sandbox. As Steve Watts always said. So I said, I know nothing about conventions. So I said, I'm going to step back and hand the mic over to these two.
That was totally nice segue there, Randy. Yes, we got wrangled into this thing, and to Randy's point, we had lost Steve, and we wanted to recognize some of the others, Jim Riggs, Richard Jameson, and then recently we've lost Eric Callahan and Larry Olson. Randy broke it. All right, am I back? Okay, thank you. So we wanted to recognize these other folks as well, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. But we wanted this to be something different too. It was an opportunity. It was just too good of an opportunity when we started putting this thing together to not address some other things that we saw out there. And that's kind of where skills and context came from. And as Steve Watts used to say, without the context, it's just arts and crafts. And truth be told, we saw a lot of misinformation out there through different streams of media, and we wanted to try and address that. And the fact that you're here really says a lot, because you know what this is about, and it's a lot different than anything else that's happened before. The organizers here, of which Randy pointed out some, and if you would help me, David, point out the rest of the organizers. This is a nonprofit. We, the organizers, have invested a lot of time and our own money, just like you guys are investing your time and money. And we really want to make this thing something special. Should be no egos here. It's about people. It's about sharing and learning. And it is worth taking a moment to recognize the people that put this thing together, because a lot of effort went into it. So, thank you. Go ahead. Randy broke that one too.
Got me muted there. Here we go. So Chris and I were asked to take on the role of essentially president of the organization. So we have an organization here in Alberta registered called the Global Bushcraft Society that exists purely to promote this event. And there's a number of folks, there's 14 of us that have served on the board at various points. And I'd like those folks to either stand, if you're already standing, raise your hands, because I want to point each one of these folks out. So over here on my left, in your right, is Joe Flowers from way down deep south. Provided absolutely just wonderful advice with bringing this together and his access to the industry. Hiding in the shadows is probably the most professional one amongst us, and that's Alex Rayner, who has been just amazing at bringing together sponsors and vendors and working with people like a true businessman, and I applaud you for all your work. Thank you, Alex. Someone who I've spoken with relatively little, but was very helpful in bouncing ideas off in the first sort of 3 months, and in the last 2 months, is standing just behind him there. I think I see you there. Yeah, Danny Reed, out of the UK. And he represents 2 of our media sponsors that are here to look at the event and to help push the agenda, the values of the Institute forward. And Danny is the editor of the Bushcraft Journal out of the UK. And we also have our other media sponsor here, and I don't see them in a sea of faces, but that's Bushcraft and Survival Skills magazine, which I believe is in their 79th or 80th issue of publications, which is an incredible feat in the era of digital communications. So thank you very much to you folks. So standing here in the middle is Bruce Zawalski, probably one of the busiest survival instructors in Western Canada, and he's been doing this for 30 years. Thank you. Dave Holder in the back there. He's the quiet voice. When I needed actual reason in my ear, I talked to Dave Holder. So thank you, Dave. And just standing up there is Dave Westcott, who is the veteran of unsung decades of working in the survival and primitive skills industry. You folks probably don't realize how influential he has already been in your education, and you may be hearing his name for one of the first times. And absolute wonderful person coming out of the US. Thank you, Dave. One of my friends and mentors, occasional co-worker, is Kelly Harleton. I think you folks are here to see Kelly in action because he's an absolutely incredible educator with a sense of humor and a huge heart for working with and helping people. So thank you very much, Kelly. And I'm going to point out John MacArthur on this side, on my right, on your left. Took on the volunteer coordination and helped sort of corral the whole campus into a coherent body of people and camps and all the volunteers. He was always a person we could rely on to say, it can get done. And thank you for all your connections and hard work, John. And we also have a wonderful team, which is Dale and Colleen Kislik, who are right here in the front. And when I say team, it truly is. It's often Dale that gets talked about and seen because he's taller. But we all know that Colleen works very hard behind the scenes and keeps Dale organized and helps organize all the theme camps. Dale has been in contact with more people on a daily basis than anyone else in the organization. And all the educational stuff that's behind this building is thanks to Dale and his incredibly hard work. Is there anyone else on the board? There's so many of us, I forget them. Lori and Randy. Lori and Randy Brosma, who operate Karamat Wilderness Ways and have served as a means of helping you folks access Morris Kohansky and his ability to teach and share knowledge. Randy, you were just up here. Where's Lori? She's probably in the office still working on registration.
At the store in the back.
Way in the back. Lori took over the thankless task of processing registrations, dealing with the bank accounts, and creating the agendas for every single meeting. And without her, nothing would have happened.
It would have fallen apart. We need Lori.
And lastly, it was Chris and myself who took the job of trying to coordinate meetings by video conference. And if you've never tried that with 13 voices of strong-willed people, don't.
I used to be 6'2". And for the record, David has on boots. I've got 4mm sandals on. That's the height difference right there. We got to have fun this week, okay? Oh, Brenda.
This is certainly an event about bringing together our mentors, our teachers, the writers, the producers of media at times, and those people who've shared their lives and their skills and their knowledge and their passion with us over the years. And we are going to honor many of those people through the time that we're here. But there is one very important person who I knew only by reputation, and many of you also know him. I only met him yesterday, and it's due to his efforts 24 years ago. I think that's right, 24 years ago. In 1995, Mr. Lars Falt invited the leading voices from around the world, many of them involved with militaries of the world, to a very special event in Sweden, where he wanted to bring the best together to share with each other and to help spread information around the world. And while we may not have communicated directly, the inspiration of what he put, I can only imagine the hours into, has provided the inspiration for this. Something we hope will continue on in another location in another year or two. But we must recognize the true greats of the world. And at that event, he arranged for each, I believe, of the instructors to receive this backpack that was created by Fjallraven, who's here this weekend. And on it reads, the first International Survival Instructors Symposium in Jukkasjärvi, Sweden, December 11 through 15, 1995. I've known Moores for 18 years, and it wasn't until our little gathering that happens here in Alberta called Frostbite Symposium that I saw Moores bring this out, and he was carrying it around on his back the entire weekend. And I was absolutely stunned. And I pulled aside Daniel Ilsley, who's the representative from Fjallraven, and I said, Daniel, have you seen this thing? And he was ecstatic. He went to his managers. And I'd like to invite Lars up to the stage if I could, because I have a gift I'd like to share with you. In honor of your role, Fjallraven has very graciously created the same backpack again. It says Global Bushcraft Symposium 10 through 14 June 2019, Alberta, Canada. This backpack is only a small token of what it means to create a vision. And I want you to have the very first one that was created. Thank you very much. We'll hear more from Lars throughout the weekend. But tomorrow morning, you will be doing a presentation for us.
Yeah, and then in the afternoon.
And again in the afternoon. But you're going to be doing a solo presentation tomorrow, and you gave it a Latin title.
I can say that this rucksack was taken from small children when they went to school. Because they have in hand all the equipment and books, and then they go like this, and they think they was communists. They was on the left. So the chief of Fjallraven, he make that so they can go like that. That's why it is so small.
So tomorrow morning at 9:30, you'll be doing a presentation by himself up here. And I would invite as many of you as possible to come hear Lars. And he'll be sharing some of his vision of what it means to be an honest and true survival instructor, sharing what it means to impart quality information. Okay. Thank you very much, Lars.
Thank you.
And I hope we're all here tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
So a lot of people started arriving last night, the presenters setting up, and there's been a lot of talk about the theme, skills, and context. And again, that was one of the things that was a big goal, to make sure that fact-based, accurate skills were taught. And you're going to see that theme. I don't know why David's leaving me. Oh, you come back. All right. You're going to see that theme throughout, hopefully, many of the keynote speeches, presentations. We hope that it grows organically. This event is what you make of it. You guys are just as much a participant as the thought leaders leading the conversation. So we need your feedback. I'd also like to talk about learning for a second. And I've got a quote that I've only shared one time publicly, and it was at Rabbit Stick shortly after Steve had passed away. And we all spent some special time to share our thoughts about him and stories, and we each brought a rock and put it in a place. My rock actually came from the Waffle House, which is a little restaurant that Steve loved to eat at. His was special. His was the one that had the bullet hole in the wall. So, but this is the quote, and it came from a 15th century French druid, and I'm just paraphrasing it. But when we die and we depart this world for the other world, there's really only three things that remain of us in this life, or in the current life. And that is the things that we've taught others, the things that we've created with our hands, and love. And from that, we should really try and learn as much as we possibly can so we can turn that around into long-lasting, wise values to the people that we're teaching. The things that we work and make on should be beautiful things that last. And we should try and spread as much love as possible, because it's love that will heal all things. And with that being said, it's pretty amazing when you think about Larry Olson and Steve and Riggs and Richard and Eric Callahan. They're still teaching us lessons even though they're gone. That never ended. The other thing I'd like to point out too is we've been lucky, we've been fortunate, to Randy's point, to bring some of these guys back together that were there in 1995, Lars and Moores and Tom Lutens, and we have David Holliday and David Westcott and Andrew Bourbeau and a whole host of others. What an opportunity to learn from people this week that have taught and created so much impact in what we love. But I'd ask you to take it a step further, because we tend to really celebrate what they've taught, especially from a youth perspective. And when you look at Moores and Steve and Larry Olson and Holiday and what they've done in youth programs, we really celebrate what they've done, but I think we should also recognize what they've learned. And they've never stopped learning. But the effort and the amount of work that they put in to learn themselves. And again, I promise you, they never stop learning. They're still the most inquisitive people. I mean, if you sit down with some of these old dogs and you'll have a conversation with them and they'll ask you a question, you won't even realize they ask you a question. The next thing you know, you're spilling your guts for 15 minutes, and they've picked you apart and they've learned what they wanted to learn. They never stop. They're always learning. So with that, I really wanted everybody to take advantage of the opportunity that we have here to share and learn from one another. David, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you did a really great job with that. This is about recognizing our mentors. And it's also my privilege to welcome you to Canada. I know we have many international guests. And I think it's a good idea to let you know that well over 60% of the people who are in attendance are outdoor professionals. They are out in the industry, they're teaching, they're sharing, and they've come here to learn from each other, to get new ideas, to be refreshed. And I think that's absolutely crucial. But as I welcome you to Canada, I also want to take a little time to recognize some of the history of Canada, how we are changing as a country. It's only been in the last few years that public gatherings are beginning to realize that every person who stands here or sits here today is only possible for you to be here because you were spoken for and signed for by treaties, in this case about 110, 115 years ago. So I want to recognize as we open the Global Bushcraft Symposium that we are here on Treaty 7 territory, the traditional homeland of many First Nations people, the Cree, the Tsutena, the Siksika, the Tunaha, and many more that I can't remember. But it's through their active generosity of saying, we wish to share this land with you, that gives us the privilege to be here. And it's something I think we should take very seriously, that all of us here are treaty people that are here by permission and by a gesture of sharing. And to help us open the event, I'd like to welcome two people to the stage. One is a teacher of mine, a mentor, a friend, someone I occasionally have worked for, and that is Brenda Holder. And she will also be coming with one of her good friends and former students, Jenny Redgun. Please.
Tanse toia ni totawak. Do we have a microphone for Janie as well, so he can greet and welcome our guests in his language?
Okay. Nidanako Janie Redgun. I am from Siksika Nation, traditional territory for the Blackfoot and Cree people. Welcome to Treaty 7. Ohki, Nitakiks, my friends. I hope you enjoy yourself. Thank you.
I've got this mic. So I want to say a few words before we start doing a quick opening ceremony, and that is, this is a really wonderful event. This is very much a traditional event for us as well. Long into our history, we were a people who celebrated by doing gatherings such as this. When we come together as a people, when we gather together, when we share our knowledge, we ensure the survival of many. And of course, clans would come together and they would share this knowledge. They would trade goods, and perhaps sometimes they may find a wife. So gentlemen, just keep your eyes open. You never know. In a moment, I'm going to invite a few other of my friends up to the stage to join us in doing a bit of a ceremony. It is during that time, it's going to be brief, but it's during that time I will ask you to please not take our photograph and please not film us. It will be very brief. Once I stand up again, I'll be kneeling down, but once I stand again, that will be your signal. If you want to take photographs of us, then you're more than welcome to do so at that time. So we will be doing a short ceremony, a short smudging ceremony. I will then stand up and do a very short thank you blessing in Cree. And at that time, my friends are going to go amongst the audience and smudge those who would like to take part in that. We certainly won't force you to do so, but if you wish to be smudged, you're more than welcome to do so. And at that time, I will then give a blessing in English. So I would like to ask my friends Troy, Delmar, and where is Tracy? Is Tracy going to join us up here?
I want to thank Brenda in many ways for something that's very meaningful, but also Brenda is one of our board members who I wanted to introduce that way when she came up, and I forgot. But she was with us right from the very beginning. In fact, it was her campfire that we sat around when we first fleshed out the idea. And of course, she mentioned Al.
Thank you. Remember I told you earlier we're a nonprofit? Well, unfortunately, not fortunately for you, unfortunately for us, we voted ourselves out of the drawings that will occur during this week. And there's probably over 10 grand worth of stuff back there. There's a lot. So we really appreciate the generosity of our sponsors. Please stick around.